Anna Thompson met Eric Collins when she was just 23 years old. At the time, she was full of dreams and ready to build a beautiful life. Eric came into her world like the perfect answer to everything she wanted. He was charming, thoughtful, and said all the right things. He made her feel special, like she was the only person that truly mattered. In the beginning, everything seemed flawless. They went on long drives, shared simple dinners, and spent hours talking about the future they would build together. Eric painted a beautiful picture of their life owning a house, traveling the world, starting a family. Anna believed in him completely. As months turned into years, Eric slowly began to shape Anna's life. He convinced her to leave her hometown and move to a city where he promised bigger opportunities waited for them. Anna, trusting his vision, packed her bags and followed him. She left behind her family, her friends, and a job she genuinely loved. Eric always told her this sacrifice would bring them closer to their dreams. Anna wanted to believe it. She wanted to believe that all the changes were temporary and that soon they would enjoy the rewards. Over time, Eric's promises kept getting delayed. He often talked about his big plans, claiming he was working on a business that would soon make them both financially free. Anna, deeply in love, supported him with everything she had. She allowed him to manage her savings, trusting that he was making wise investments for their shared future. She worked long hours while Eric jumped from one idea to another, always failing but convincing her that success was just around the corner. He had a way of explaining things that made Anna feel guilty for even doubting him. Eric slowly pushed Anna to distance herself from people who cared about her. He said they didn't understand their relationship, that they were jealous, and that they wanted to pull her away from him. Anna believed him and stopped calling her old friends. She stopped visiting her family as often. Her world became smaller, and Eric became the center of it. She thought it was love. She thought this was what it meant to build a life with someone sacrificing for them, trusting them completely, and holding on through the hard times. Years passed, and Anna began to feel trapped in a routine that seemed to go nowhere. Every time she asked Eric when their life would improve, he told her to be patient. He promised her that the sacrifices would soon pay off. He made her believe that they were a team and that people who gave up too early never succeeded. He used her loyalty to keep her in place. Even when she questioned the constant delays, he skillfully turned the blame on her, making her feel like she was being unreasonable. Anna started to feel the weight of lost opportunities. She saw her old friends move on, building careers, starting families, and living the kind of life she once dreamed of. But she stayed with Eric, hoping that one day she would finally see the future he promised. Deep down, though, something inside her began to crack. She felt isolated, tired, and unsure if Eric's words were still true. But she couldn't walk away, not after giving him 7 years of her life. What Anna didn't know was that Eric had been lying to her from the start. His promises were never real, his plans were never serious, and he never intended to build that future with her. He was using her trust, her love, and her resources for his own selfish needs. While she thought they were building something together, Eric was wasting her time, slowly taking everything she had. And the truth, when it finally surfaced, would change Anna's life forever. One quiet afternoon, Anna stumbled upon something that shattered the carefully built world she thought she was living in. She had been organizing some old papers in their shared apartment when she found a folder buried deep in a drawer Eric usually kept locked. Curiosity pulled her in, and what she found inside made her heart sink. There were bank statements, travel receipts, and dozens of printed emails messages Eric had exchanged with other women. Some of the receipts showed expensive vacations and gifts she never received. Her hands trembled as she realized these trips weren't business-related, like Eric had told her. They were romantic getaways, and he had paid for them with the money she had worked so hard to earn. Anna kept searching, desperate to make sense of what she was seeing. With each paper she uncovered, the truth became clearer. Eric had been leading multiple lives, dating other women while keeping Anna in the dark. He had promised them the same things he promised her: a future, a home, a life together. Some of the emails showed that these women believed they were his only partner, while others appeared to know about Anna, but thought she was someone Eric had already left behind. It was a carefully managed web of lies, and Anna had unknowingly been at the center of it for 7 years. Shock turned into anger as Anna realized the depth of his betrayal. She felt like the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. All the sacrifices she had made, all the years she had invested, were built on nothing but Eric's selfishness and manipulation. The man she thought she knew had been a stranger all along, carefully wearing a mask that she never questioned. It was not just a broken relationship, it was a stolen life. Asterisk at first, Anna didn't know what to do. A part of her wanted to confront Eric immediately, to scream, to demand answers, but the weight of 7 years held her back. She felt crushed, small, and paralyzed by the shock of losing not just a partner, but the story of her entire adult life. Days passed in silence as she went over every memory, every moment she once thought was real. Slowly, a different kind of strength began to rise inside her. The more she reviewed the evidence, the more she understood that this was bigger than heartbreak. Eric hadn't just betrayed her emotionally, he had stolen money, lied about his businesses, and used her as a cover for his schemes. Anna realized she had been just one of many women Eric had manipulated. Some of them had given him their savings just as she had. Others had quit jobs or moved cities for him, believing in the same false promises. It wasn't a simple case of a man cheating on his partner, it was a calculated pattern of deception. The weight of what she had lost was overwhelming, but Anna made a decision. She wouldn't let Eric get away with this. She wouldn't be another silent victim. Instead of confronting him right away, she began to plan. She carefully organized every document, saved every email, and started to watch Eric more closely. Anna was done believing his words. Now, she wanted proof. And what she would uncover next would lead her down a path she never imagined. Anna became a quiet observer in her own life. She watched Eric's movements carefully, memorizing his daily routines and learning the times when he left the house for his so-called meetings. What once were ordinary afternoons now became opportunities for her to dig deeper. She started searching through his files, his emails, and his phone when he wasn't around. The more she looked, the more she uncovered. There were records of wire transfers from women in different cities, money that Eric claimed he needed for investments that never existed. Anna found fake contracts, emails from women begging him to return the money he had promised to pay back, and even photographs of Eric with these women during vacations. Anna didn't know he had taken. Each discovery added weight to Anna's growing anger, but instead of breaking her, it gave her focus. She realized Eric wasn't just emotionally abusive, he was a criminal. He had built a life by tricking people, especially women who trusted him. The scale of his lies was larger than Anna first believed. There were rental agreements under false names, Credit cards opened using other people's details, and a trail of victims who had all been convinced by his charm. Eric had turned manipulation into a career. Anna knew that going to the police was an option, but she also knew Eric was skilled at twisting stories. She feared that without solid evidence, he would find a way to escape responsibility once again. She decided to build her own case, step by step, gathering undeniable proof of his patterns. She saved screenshots, copied financial documents, and even reached out to some of the women she had found in Eric's emails. Carefully, she introduced herself, explained what she had discovered, and asked if they too had been victims. One by one, the women responded. Some were heartbroken, some were furious, and all of them had been deceived in almost the exact same way. Together, they formed a silent network, exchanging information and helping Anna piece together the full scope of Eric's actions. They shared details of when they had met him, how much money they had lost, and the lies he had told them to keep them under his control. It became clear that Eric wasn't simply a careless lover. He was running a long, deliberate scheme to steal from women and vanish before being caught. As Anna's collection of evidence grew, so did her determination. She realized that exposing Eric privately would never be enough. He would find a way to talk his way out of trouble if the confrontation remained behind closed doors. Anna decided she needed to bring his story into the light, to make his lies impossible to hide. She created an anonymous blog where she carefully told the story of a man who wasted years of women's lives and drained them of their money and trust. She posted screenshots, financial records, and carefully blurred photos that still revealed enough to make Eric's identity unmistakable. The blog spread quickly. People shared it across social media, and soon more women came forward with their own stories. What started as a personal mission quietly exploded into something much bigger, and Eric, still unaware of Anna's role in it all, found himself trapped in a storm he could no longer control. The story swept across the country like wildfire. Major news outlets picked up the blog, calling it the work of a mysterious whistleblower who had uncovered the shocking pattern of a man who spent years tricking women out of their time, money, and trust. The public was stunned by the level of detail. The evidence was undeniable, and the way this story unfolded kept readers hooked. People wanted to know who the man was, how he had gotten away with it for so long, and most importantly, who was behind the blog that had exposed him so carefully. Eric's life began to crumble in front of him. Strangers recognized him on the street. His phone rang endlessly with people demanding answers. His employers dropped him. His social circle vanished overnight. Friends he once manipulated now distanced themselves quickly, desperate to avoid being connected to his name. Eric tried to push back, calling the blog false and accusing the author of lying, but the facts were everywhere. Bank statements, photographs, records of wire transfers, and messages from women in different cities all told the same story. His explanations became weaker as the evidence grew stronger. More women stepped forward, some who thought they were the only ones, and others who had suspected they had been tricked but had never dared to speak out. Their stories filled social media, news reports, and radio shows. The weight of their shared experiences crushed any chance Eric had of defending himself. His carefully built life, full of fake promises and stolen money, fell apart in days. Authorities finally arrested Eric. The case was already public knowledge. Investigators found layers of fraud, not only against the women, but against banks, landlords, and businesses he had cheated along the way. His deception wasn't just emotional, it was deeply criminal. Police uncovered fake identities, unpaid debts, and a long list of financial schemes tied to his name. But the biggest shock came when Anna revealed herself. Until then, the blog's author had remained anonymous. On a live national broadcast, Anna stepped forward and told her story. She detailed how Eric had wasted 7 years of her life, how he had stolen her trust and her future, and how she had gathered the courage to bring him down. The country watched, amazed not only by the size of Eric's betrayal, but by Anna's patience, intelligence, and determination. She had built a case so carefully that even the most skilled investigators praised her work. Anna's face became known everywhere. Her story inspired countless others, especially those who had suffered in silence, to speak up and seek justice. People flooded her with messages of support. Some called her a hero, others called her a symbol of quiet strength. Anna had turned her deepest pain into something powerful. She had outsmarted a man who had spent years thinking he would never be caught. Eric's downfall wasn't just a legal victory. It was a public reckoning. The man who thought he controlled everything had been exposed by the very person he believed he had broken. The country would never forget what Anna had done. Eric's trial became one of the most closely followed cases in the country. Courtrooms were packed with reporters, former victims, and curious onlookers who had followed the story since it first surfaced. The evidence against him was overwhelming. His long list of financial crimes, identity theft, and emotional manipulation painted a clear picture of a man who had built his entire life on using and discarding people. Testimonies from the women he had tricked echoed the same painful story: promises of love, offers of partnership, and sudden financial requests that slowly drained their resources. The pattern was undeniable. The judge handed Eric a heavy sentence: years behind bars, fines he could never repay, and a lifetime of his name tied to disgrace. As he was led away in handcuffs, there was no sympathy left for him. His lies, once carefully hidden, had been laid bare for everyone to see. His downfall was complete, and there was no escape from the consequences he had brought upon himself. For Anna, life after Eric was a strange new chapter. She had spent 7 years trapped in a life that wasn't real, then months quietly building a case against the man who had deceived her. Now, with Eric gone, she faced the weight of starting over. But instead of stepping back into silence, she used her experience to help others. She accepted invitations to speak at conferences about emotional fraud and manipulation. She worked with organizations that supported victims of financial abuse and became a strong, visible advocate for those who had been silenced by shame, fear. People across the country listened to her story and found courage in it. Many victims who had once thought they were alone now felt seen and understood. Anna's voice became a source of strength, not just because of what she had survived, but because of how she had fought back. She had carefully dismantled Eric's lies and had shown others that they too could reclaim their lives. Though she could never recover the 7 years she had lost, Anna chose to see her journey as more than just wasted time. She turned it into a mission that mattered. The pain, the betrayal, and the isolation were now part of a story that helped others find their way out of similar traps. Eric's case continued to be discussed for years as one of the most shocking examples of emotional and financial deception. His name became a warning, but Anna's name became a symbol of quiet bravery and steady resolve. Her story was told in documentaries, articles, and books. The country remembered not just the crime, but the woman who refused to let her life be defined by it. Anna moved forward, no longer as someone who had been broken, but as someone who had risen, stronger and wiser. The silence Eric once counted on had been shattered, and Anna made sure it stayed that way. The country never forgot what she did next.